with the first and goal. Kuhn gets the call. Pyle driving his way in for the touchdown. What a great second effort. Here comes the. Y'all don't really want it like that. Here comes the. Y'all don't really want it like that. I said so. I keep big bills up in my heart on the dirty like blood. So ain't got no twist in my head, but I'm still dreadful.
Hey everybody, what's up? Welcome to the Week 11 post-red zone tailgate. This is post-red zone, pre-Sunday Night Football. This is the Fantasy Fullback Dive brought to you by the good people at the Roto Street Journal. We are paving your way to fantasy excellence. We are feeding fantasy wolves. We are breeding fantasy wolves. We actually have the biggest fantasy wolf of them all in studio as usual. Shit, am I talking about a studio? We don't have a studio yet, but he's in his place and I'm in my place. I, of course, am your host, Nat the Truth Jones, with me as always, the Wolf of Roto Street himself. Wolf, how you doing? This was a crazy football day, like not just fantasy, but just football in general. I feel like I got jerked all over the place, good and bad.
Yeah, it's been a crazy, crazy day. Exactly. Weird stuff all over the place. I'm in that weird place where all my leagues went great. I'm dominating them all. I've got the wins locked up. But my predictions for the people have not been. This has to be one of my worst prediction weeks of the year. I got some right. There is some good wolf in the day, but a lot of bad wolf out there today. So I always kind of feel a little more depressed. Like, too much bad wolf of this day. I will talk through some of those duds. I'll ask for your redemptions and free me of my sins here. I always kind of feel, I never thought I'd care more about everybody else's team than my own because I've just always cared about my own team so much. When I have a bad fucking day of calls, and I know I overrate them myself too. I weigh them pretty down hard on myself. I'm harder than I probably need to be. But I don't know. I fucking get so pissed at myself when I get calls wrong. And I got some damn ones wrong this week.
Well, I mean, nobody's perfect, not even the Wolf of Roto Street himself. And you did have a few whiffs, but you also had some hits. We're going to touch on both of those before the end of the episode. We want to start going, like we said, or like you said in the outset, we still got some football going. The Packers, the Colts, they're in overtime right now. Packers had the ball. They don't anymore. I believe they just punted it away. And so we don't know what's going to happen. Packers had a pretty substantial lead in that game, which they blew, which we've seen happen before. The Colts looking to have their second quality win in a row. We'll see what happens. I don't think there's any team that is less fun to pull for than the Indianapolis Colts. What a shitty team to pull for, but they do seem to be able to contend with some of the best guys. I'm sure Seamus is not enjoying what's going on with that game. He probably thought it was going to be an early night.
He's been texting me throughout.
Right. So anyway, we'll get into the actual football logistics in a little bit, but let's get right into our studs and our duds of the week. Nominee 1 for stud of the week, Desean Watson. This guy kind of crept in there. He went 28 for 37, 344, 2 touchdowns in the Texans' Week 11 win over the shittier than hell Patriots. I think he had a little over 31 fantasy points. I mean, this is just – they beat the Ravens last week. Desean, I don't want to focus too much on the team, but now the Texans, who I went on record as saying a week ago, everyone affiliated with the Texans franchise should just be humiliated beyond belief. Now the Patriots drop one to them. Are the Ravens no good? We know the Patriots are no good. Are all these teams no good?
Yeah, I think the Ravens suck. I think the Pats fucking clearly blow. It all sucks. And Watson was the one to reap what the Patriots defense sows. They've lost so many people preseason. The defense is not even close to what it used to be. He also scored on the ground, Desean Watson, too, making this game extra monstrous. The highest fantasy score of the week as of right now with his 31 fantasy points. Yeah. No doubt a very worthy nomination. The second nominee we have is Adam Thielen, the top scoring receiver, went for 123 yards, 2 TDs on 8 catches, an absolute monster performance from Adam Thielen. Were you facing him? Do you have him?
I wasn't facing him, and I don't have him, and it doesn't seem to matter who is kind of captaining the ship for the Vikings. The guy just catches touchdowns all the time. Yeah, I don't know if he leads the league in touchdowns, but I kind of suspect he probably does. If he doesn't, I mean, it's got to be him, Metcalf, or probably not Adams because of the injuries, but maybe. I would imagine the guy's averaging over a touchdown a game. He's unstoppable. He's certainly worthy of a nomination as well, though he's not going to be the guy I'm voting for. Nominee number 3, Taysom Hill. This is a weird one because, his quarterback line was okay, not great. But personally,
I was pretty good. I think he was the second highest quarterback of the third or second. Yeah.
He had a couple rushing touchdowns. He went 18 for 23, 233 yards. He did have a fumble mixed in there. But what made him fantasy gold is that I started him at tight end.
Yes.
And so I was also allowed to play another 20-plus point scorer. And if I do win, which is very much in question, that's probably going to end up being the difference. Also noteworthy with Taysom Hill here, I mean, we're going to talk about Mike Thomas, who he, hit with quite a few passes. Also, did not complete a pass to Alvin Kamara, I believe the first time in Kamara's career that happened. And we'll talk about that in a little while.
We'll talk about all the interested parties in the Risers and Fallers section in a little bit. But the last two studs kind of go hand in hand here. So I'll just nominate them both. One being Keenan Allen. I mean, he had 10 catches and 100 yards at half, which is like, all right, he's going to automatically be a stud. I think he finished with 16 for 140 something yards.
16 for $145 and a touchdown. And if I seem like I'm pulling those stats right out of my pocket like I had him, I was playing against Keenan Allen. And so he's the guy that I would give this award to. It was absolutely brutal going against this guy and just watching every single football be thrown his way and him catching almost all of them. We see that from him from time to time. He is great. And we have not seen, remember it was all about injuries, in the past few years with Keenan Allen. Haven't seen anything like that. He just catches. And Herbert's got to love having him as a security blanket. And of course, Herbert rounds out the top 5, right?
Yeah, absolutely. 400, almost 400 yards passing, 3 touchdowns, slinging the ball all over the yard. And as you're saying too, facing these guys, it's brutal because especially if you're facing the connection, and I have Keenan Allen, Justin Herbert together, it's unbelievable. Just chip. Like it's every play they're connecting. I think he's averaging right around just under 40% target share, Keenan Allen with Herbert, but just together. I mean, that connection today was good for 60 points almost in my PPR league. Love having these two absolute studs all over the place. You said your pick is going to be Keenan Allen just because of the nature of the beatdown he was giving you.
I mean, when you're seeing it yourself, it's like judging all-time great fighters. You probably would give one guy the edge if you actually had to step into the ring with him and take a couple shots from him. I took a lot of shots from Keenan Allen today. So he's my vote. Although, who's your vote real quick?
I mean, the high score is Desean Watson, but as you mentioned, Taysom Hill, that tight end eligibility, such a cheat code. I think anybody who had this guy as a tight end in ESPN is in very good shape, no matter how the rest of their lineup performed. I got to give it to him, given that dual eligibility. The fact he got it done for you as a quarterback, if that's how you're relying on, but more so for the tight end eligibility. Taysom Hill's my personal pick.
All right, that's fair. I also just want to point out Derrick Henry barely did not make this list, but he rushed the ball 28 times against the Ravens for $133. And it was one of those just ridiculous Henry games that keep happening where he's got 28 or 30 yards at halftime. And then he just starts hitting, and he's going into the line, and all of a sudden the 3-yard runs become 8-yard runs. And then all of a sudden there's a 12-yard or a 20-yard run. And then there's some play at the end of the game where some guy decides, I don't really feel like taking the full brunt of Derrick Henry again. I'm going to let somebody else make this tackle. And that's when he breaks one for a touchdown and wins again. We've seen it like 3 or 4 times this year. He's a monster.
So demoralizing as a defense to have to go against that guy. And just, especially in overtime, fuck. Another period of just tackle this beast. That's why he's capped off 2 overtime wins. You think that's a surprise? No. God damn it. I got to do this.
They went the exact same way. Both those games finished the exact same way. You could have predicted it.
Exactly.
It was impressive.
And we're going to move on to the duds of the week. But as we're getting there, folks, if you don't mind, don't put that shit button up for us. Give us the thumbs up. Give us those likes. We would greatly appreciate it. YouTube, Periscope, Facebook, regardless of where you're at. That helps us get out to more people, answer more questions, and just get more discovered. We need more wolves in this pack, baby. It's been such good growth. We want to keep it rolling. I got to lead off the duds because 1, it's just a bad wolf call in general. 2, it's Hayden Hurst, my tight end hire of the week, +5 ECR. I was all in that Saints matchup. What does he reward me with for my good faith? An exact donut. I mean, the whole thing with him was that he fucking had a nice floor, Hayden Hurst. It was so steady.
Love
you
that
knew you were going to get 50 yards and 6 catches or so. And then what if he scored? Fuck him. 0 points for Hayden motherfucking Hurst, making me look like a moron, making everybody who started him feel like absolute shit. My brother said if there's one person you could spit on their face by the end of today, it was Hayden Hurst. And I totally agree. What an absolute dud. Absolute dud.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with, and I appreciate you owning that. But it's not like I was going against you. I mean, I was nodding and being like, yeah, you're making some really good points.
Good case, compelling. Here's zero.
Nominee number 2, and there's some good ones. Matt Stafford, what a hunk of shit, huh? 18 for 33, 178 yards, 0 points put up on the board. This is for the Lions, not fantasy points for Stafford, but this guy led them to 0 fantasy points in a game they might even been favored to win. I'm not sure, but I think they lost 20-0. And just a terrible, terrible fantasy game and a terrible real football game, and Matt Stafford belongs on this list.
100%. A great worthy nominee. Close to 0 points from the quarterback position is always a pathetic week ruiner. And right behind him, too, Adrian Peterson should have been on this list. 7 carries, 18 yards against the Carolina run D. Like, everybody was ready for bare minimum waiver wire pickup AP to go steamroll in Swift's absence. 7 carries for 18 yards against Carolina. Complete and utter dud. But even fewer points scored by Marquis Brown.
All right, man.
Tied with Hayden Hurst for a grand total of 0. But you actually, a good amount of people probably forced Marquis in. Oh, last year against
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was in my lineup.
The Titans, 120 yards. Titans' awful defense, giving up big plays all over the place. 0 yards to Marquis Brown. Absolute squeaky wheel. He's going to finally get the grease. It's the Titans.
His wheel is squeaky.
It's pure squeak.
There's like sparks flying off it as it goes down the railroad tracks. That's how
the grease is never coming. The grease isn't coming to that sparks flying.
No, this guy hasn't known any sort of lubrication in like 5 or 6 weeks.
Nope. And
he's jerking off completely raw right now.
It's awful. Just completely raw. Hurt every time. Screw Marquis Brown. At this point, how is he? He went from
is he cuttable? Come on. Is he cuttable?
Champion lineups. He's cuttable. Absolutely cuttable. I say get rid of the headache. Get rid of the fucking headache. Absolutely.
He's such a fucking headache right now. I had Jalen Reagor on my bench instead of Marquise. Not that Rager blew up or anything, but it would have been nice. Yeah. Would have been nice to have those 9 points than the fucking 0 that I got from Brown. Anyway, Absolutely. Go ahead. I'm getting really angry really early. Todd Gurley, shitty game from Gurley. You want to elaborate on that? I don't have his stat line in front of me, but I know he blew ass.
a robust 8 carries for 26 yards in that high-powered Atlanta attack. Oh, like I get like AP was worse, but people were expecting some big shit out of Gurley. Nothing at all. Pathetic effort. I have Jameson Crowder on the duds list, but at the end of the day, 1 catch, 16 yards. Nobody's starting Jameson Crowder, so screw him. Who's your pick out of all these complete losers?
Marquis Brown.
Marquis
Brown, because I think it's like, why are expectations even high for this? You realize he hasn't hit double-digit fantasy points PPR. This is PPR, not even half-point PPR. He hasn't hit double-digit PPR points in 5 games.
Sickening.
It's sickening. I think he's the guy, and I mean, Hayden Hurst is right there, but I think Brown's probably
Stafford needed to have that type of dud.
Who's starting Stafford though? If you're in a 1 quarterback league, are you starting this guy?
My girlfriend's in the back. Give it a death station. Who started Stafford?
Why did your girlfriend do that?
Yeah, not good.
Well, from everything I've heard about your girlfriend, other than that, she seems awesome. So I'm assuming there were extenuating circumstances that surrounded that. Yeah. And when I meet her, we're going to get into a deep conversation about it.
I'll be in the car tonight, Nat. It was not a good wolf recommendation.
It was you?
Disowned into the cold.
See, that's the extenuating circumstances I was talking about. I knew she wouldn't have done that without some undue influence.
Exactly. Let's move on. So we covered our duds. We covered our studs. We're going to get into that, like the middle ground of people that actually saw their value change, whether they blew up this weekend or not, as we first talk about our risers. To me, the biggest riser of the week is J.K. Dobbins. Finally, at long last, everybody's healthy, and a monster emerges as the almost every down guy. 64% of the snaps, 45% of the rush attempts, 75% of the running back attempts. So obviously Lamar Jackson had some mixed in there, but 75% of the running back attempts, 67% of the short down and distance, and 100% in their 2-minute offense. So the every down kind of back. And what did he do? What did he reward them with for finally unleashing him? A la kind of DeAndre Swift just last week. We got 15 carries, 70 yards, and a TD, 2 receptions, 15 yards. So not like a monster. I won people weeks, but like, damn, that's steady. That's, 18 to 20, depending on your scoring. And if it looked like that's like kind of like Swift, where the switch is just on at this point, and we roll forward thinking J.K. Dobbins is a monster. like solid RB2 moving forward. Feeling good about him.
You've been saying this for a while now. I mean, it's been leading up to this. You've been saying if they could just clear out the backfield, it would happen. It kind of was. It's been a slow play, but it has happened. You called this a while ago, so good call on that.
Finally here, rewarding owners that had the patience and the foresight to stick it out. It seems to me like he's going to really just go crazy down the stretch in the schedule, lining up like a joke. You mentioned this one, the Panthers, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I mentioned the Panthers because, we wrote off Curtis Samuel as we are prone to do every week, and he had a great game. I think he went 8 for 70 for a touchdown. And couple that with the fact that DJ Moore had a really good game as well. You look at the points that people on the Panthers were able to put up with no Teddy Bridgewater and with no Christian McCaffrey. I mean, Mike Davis had another solid game. I want to say like 15 PPR points, something like that. Maybe I'm wrong. I might be overshooting it. But the point is the Panthers are able to put up big points even without some of their big guys, and that's significant.
Absolutely. It just goes to show how stable these floors are. Even if they lose their quarterback, to me, it goes to show how good this system is, what Joe Brady has put in there, the run after the catch ability, that the fact that all these people still perform with PJ Walker playing. And it also tells you maybe PJ Walker, when we get to waiver wire, should he have to make another start? This offense is just a very nice machine, well-oiled, whoever's under center. They've really crafted something special there in Carolina, which raises everybody's floors and ceilings, knowing that moving forward. I also added Deontay Johnson to this list. The fact that we get questions about this guy every week for sit starts, I don't know how it's not automatic at this point. That's why I wanted to put him on. He's top 12 rest of season, and it should be in any rest of season rankings for wide receivers. He's averaging well over 13 targets a game, adding on to that with 16 targets this week, including the games that he's actually made it through. We had those weeks 3 and 5 where he played a snap, got hurt. But if he makes it through quarter one unscathed, he's done nothing but ball out to over 20-something points per game when he actually makes it through the first quarter. 22 and a half, I believe, we're at now in terms of average. So there can't be a question about him anymore. I don't want to answer a Deontay Johnson question. He is in your lineup. There's no real sit starts with this guy.
There's no question about him. I also just want to point out, and forgive me if I get this stat wrong, Chase Claypool, who I believe caught his 10th touchdown of the year today.
In 10 games. 10 touchdowns in 10 games.
There have been 3 dudes in their rookie year that have gotten 10 touchdowns in their first 10 games. I'm assuming we're talking receivers. And the last guy to do it was 1960.
Wow.
Other guys were like 54 and 56. So this is kind of, we're talking about Deontay Johnson in every week starter. You kind of be crazy to have Claypool and not start him also.
Totally agree too. This offense is cooking. And Juju, I think a little, he limped off a little. I don't think it's anything too serious, but if he misses time, it's just all that much higher, the floor and ceiling with these guys. Another receiver you were alluding to, Mike Thomas. What did you think of him today?
Well, I mean, we've been super down on him.
Yeah.
And for good reason, not only not playing, but then, punching people in the locker room and then coming back and really just not doing what you want out of Mike Thomas. This is a guy that people might have spent like 60 auction dollars on or something like that. I don't know. I mean, he's not really done anything. Now we got Taysom Hill coming in, who I think had thrown 18 passes all year going into this game, even though he's played a little quarterback. And he hit 12 targets for Mike Thomas, caught 9, 104 yards. For someone like Taysom Hill as your quarterback, I think that's a really monster game and actually pretty encouraging.
Very encouraging. And he's got Atlanta lined up in 2 weeks, Denver next week, another easy matchup. Exactly what you just said. The fact that this happened with Taysom Hill, huge. Antonio Gibson just, to me, keeps climbing and climbing. Still is not seeing that full receiving workload he's so capable of, but it's so steadied out that he is the goal line back. He's the early down back, and he's just averaging now 16.3 touches per win. Played 56% of the snaps compared to 52% for McKissick, his first time playing more snaps. Everything's trending the right way for this guy. Whenever he gets work, he puts up numbers, and the schedule is looking nice. It could benefit him in the sense of game flow moving forward. So I love Antonio Gibson. I think he's going to go down as one of the best picks you could have made this year. So he's one of the few good Wolf calls I was going to
say, you've been in on this guy for a while, and specifically this week, you liked him a lot. But Gibson's somebody you were on before I was. So,
dude, I had my tweet that got me in some trouble. It seemed at the beginning of the season, I tweeted out, "I'd rather have Gibson than Odell Beckham." Look how much that
there's a rich history of guys at the RSJ saying Odell Beckham is not as good as everybody thinks he is.
Not
Jimbo. Jimbo used to always blow smoke up his ass, but not these guys.
Absolutely.
Dallas
last one that you wanted to bring up too.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I thought he deserved to be on the list. You know, we were shitting on him. This is another possibly bad wolf call, so I hate to bring it up. But Dallas Goedert, tight end 1 reborn. I think he had 5 catches for 77 or 5 for 75, something like that. You know, it was a pretty good game for a guy like that, right? I mean, I think he had a touchdown too, right?
At a position that's impossible. Yep, touchdown towards the end there. Garbage time as can be. But at the tight end position is such a shithole that if you get 16 points out of it, it's worth mentioning. Finally seems like Wentz woke up to how open this guy was running all over the place. So really big fan of what he was putting out there this week.
And just speaking of tight ends real quick, because we said that kind of point production deserves recognition because the position's so bad. Mark Andrews had 5 for 96 and a touchdown also, even though the Ravens offense is pretty shitty, which we might be talking about later in the show. Anyway, go ahead.
Absolutely will now that we're on follows. But first, it's got to be all your Bengals, especially the passing game. T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. That's the story of this week. I mean, we probably should have mentioned it. And prayers up to Burrow, an unbelievable rookie season cut short. He was leading the league in pass attempts, was on pace to break all the passing yardage records, maybe touchdown. I mean, the guy was having a historic rookie season, looking like the real deal, looking like he's ready to help this franchise turn it around. You hate to see him go down like that. Painful look at injury. So prayers up to have speedy recovery for him, and then all his fantasy prospects around him clearly going to fall when you go on the Ryan Finley fucking ship. Like, come on.
Big game Finley?
Yeah. Done.
What are you talking about?
Big game Finley, yeah.
I'm pretty sure AJ Green had a touchdown. Speaking of corpses, AJ Green's touchdown is worth noting also.
Yeah, fucking AJ Green.
And we were speaking of corpses.
Yeah, that is a corpse of all corpses right there.
Sure.
Another down for me, Alvin Kamara. You said it earlier. 1 target, 0 catches. First time he's ever not had a catch in a game in his professional career. I hope this is not a sign of things to come in Taysom's world. It's certainly not what I expected. I thought it was going to be a lot of dinks and dunks, make it easy. But those dinks and dunks came to Mike Thomas, the slant machine. And Alvin Kamara was forgotten as a receiver, which I don't know how Sean Payton would ever do. Hopefully that gets rectified and fixed. But that is definitely a concern to see in Taysom Hill's first game as a starter. I know you want to talk about these guys.
Well, I mean, we've already talked about Marquis Brown, and there's not really much else to say. There was a great comment. I don't want to step on his toes because we're going to talk it before. I think Mike Clay said Hollywood is a Walmart shopping cart wheel. They don't oil or fix it. They just throw it the fuck out. I added the fuck in there, but he said throw it out. I thought that was an apt description. As far as Lamar goes, I mean, let's look at the Ravens. They looked so dominant. Then they lost to the Patriots. I mean, who saw that coming? I sure as hell didn't. And then the Titans could not have looked more vulnerable coming into this game. And they blasted them. And, you know, it was similar. They got run on hard. You know, like, I mean, we were watching Damian Harris just run the fuck over the Ravens. And, of course, everyone's like, oh, watch out for Derrick Henry. And I was like, come on, they'll bear in. And they didn't. And Jackson did not get it done. He had a decent game with Mark Andrews. And other than that, man, as far as busts this season, if you take guys that were not shelved by injuries for, you know, Saquon Barkley's or McCaffrey or Mike Thomas even, I think Lamar Jackson's the most disappointing fantasy player of the entire year. I really do.
He's got to be up there. You know, the weight on quarterback crew gains one with how bad he has looked, especially because a lot of people passing up on Mahomes. If you were going to go quarterback early because of the upside of Lamar Jackson year 2, they're going to take off.
Yeah, nope, he was that year 2. Pick.
Yeah, a safe, exactly. The floor is so high, the ceiling's even higher, and now the year's just been figured out. They're calling the plays at the line of scrimmage. It's done. This offense is not it will never hit the levels that it was. Lamar will never sniff another MVP, in my opinion. And fantasy-wise, it's just a ho-hum, run-heavy, kind of gross attack that has some sexy luster to it for no deserved reasons. And
just,
I had to put this
real quick.
Yeah.
Well, real quick comp. Kyler Murray has either 10 or 11 rushing touchdowns. I'm not sure what that number is. For everybody that was so hyped on Lamar and his running last year, which they should have been, Lamar has the same number in last year and this year combined that Kyler Murray has so far. So just put that in your fucking pipe and smoke it.
Crazy stats about how, like, at these games through this season compared to Lamar Jackson last year, Kyler Murray's outscoring last year's Lamar Jackson by like 70 points or something insane. Yeah. Like, he's having the most ridiculous of seasons.
like
that
ever.
we've seen.
Anyway,
I had to
Duke
put this
Johnson,
guy on.
yeah, he's a bitch.
Duke Johnson remains a bitch. Smells like a bitch, runs like a bitch. He is a bitch. And we called this. We told everybody out there asking us about Duke Johnson, but now I want to just make sure it is very clear to everybody, as is this guy, Carson fucking Wentz.
Oh my God.
He sucks.
So
He sucks.
I texted my buddy in Philadelphia when he threw that just duck, terrible, whatever. I don't even know what you would call that pass that got intercepted kind of near their end zone. I texted him. I said, I wonder how much better of a passer Carson Wentz is than me. Like, I know he's better, but I mean, is he like a lot better? Like, if I had a buddy who played quarterback in high school and he pitched, he was a pitcher in college. I wonder if he can pass as well as Carson Wentz. What do you think?
He certainly doesn't show anything special that you couldn't sign off the side of the street from the dude walking his dog right now. Like, no, he's a joke. This offense is going to all go down under shit. So I'm sure we saw Dallas Goedert have a day. We'll see random people pop up here and there because of how bad they are, how bad they're going to get behind. But yeah, Carson Wentz blows. I don't really want to ever start Rager again, even though he squeaked out 7. Like, it was a gross, scary performance for sure. So yeah, hideous stuff all around. Real quick, I'll rip through the injuries. I see all the questions. We promise we're getting to those. I think most of them are comments on this show anyways.
Yeah. People want to give their 2 cents, and we love it.
Absolutely. But Joe Burrow, the torn ACL is confirmed. He already tweeted out, I'll be back next year. He was carted off, just done for 2020. Devastating injury. There's injuries that just like, you never want anyone to get hurt, but there's just some that like, fuck, like, the entire NFL is rooting for this guy. Rookie year, crushing it, on pace for records. It just is so sad to see something like that cut short. And again, you're never rooting for injury, but there's definitely some players on the list that you're like, he's one of the last people I'd want to see get injured. Burrow's on that list based on what he was doing and how he was, any rookie kind of thriving in that sense. Julio Jones, hamstring, tightens up. Usual fucking Julio bullshit. Like, guy just starts getting rolling and now his hamstring. Fucking, this shit happens all the time. I remember you traded him to me that one year. His hamstring woes just started tightening on up again. Fucking asshole.
You're a star fucker.
I had to get my stars to fuck, and he sucked. Absolutely sucks. Burkhead looked like he suffered a season-ending knee injury as well. We're going to talk about some waiver wire replacements in a second, but that was a gruesome-looking one. Everybody took a knee. Immediately, the other team start waving over, so that's never a good-looking sign. James White could get some more consistent receiving volume. He had a pretty big day. We'll chat about. Sony Michel off the IR could get some more burn as well with Burkhead done. And then Greg Olsen on Thursday night, ruptured left plantar fascia. Not that many people. In fact, my opponent was starting Greg Olsen because Dave Mock sucks. But Greg Olsen, ultimately, nobody was really playing him. It's just more so like this has to probably be the last game of his career, and what a career it's been. So I know he's a big fan of the dive.
I don't know. Des Bryant was on the field today.
You never know.
Speaking of people you never thought you'd see in the NFL again.
That's true. But I'm not expecting to see Greg Olsen. And there are some tight end snaps that will now open up, and we've seen Russell pepper tight ends before. So when we get to our waiver wires, why don't we just cover them right now as we transition over to the waiver wire here. Amidst all these injuries, some other names to emerge. Rashad Perriman and the Jets receivers, Denzel Mims. Perriman getting 4 targets, 52 yards, a TD. Scored now 3 touchdowns in his last 2 games with Flacco. I wonder if that continues when Darnold comes back. But
I feel like if you score like 3 touchdowns with Flacco, that's like scoring 15 with like an average quarterback.
100%. Yeah, that should be worth like 10 times the fantasy points.
Flacco's numbers at halftime were 3 for 8 for 30 yards with a pick 6.
Oh my God, he's abysmal.
It's just about as bad as you can play professional football. Second half,
about as bad. Mims is also out there. 3 receptions, 71 yards, 8 targets, led the team. So 10% owned Perriman. I'd go him first. Mims is second most. They have the second easiest playoff schedule among receivers. If you could ever stomach a jet, if you're in the playoffs and you need to stomach a jet, you're probably not going for long. But Perriman might be that one crazy guy that gets like 120 and 2 TDs, given the soft schedule he has coming forward. Tony Pollard looking pretty damn explosive, had that nice touchdown. Great setup. Not a great setup anymore. Obviously, the offense has taken some 10 steps backwards, but Zeke's hammy was still not 100%, they were saying. So just a guy that should be owned for handcuff season. It is cuffing season coming around this time of the year. Cuffing season. Bird. I know that was the one Patriot that did a damn thing. 6 catches, 132 yards, TD on 7 targets. I'm not going to go blow my load because the Pats passing game is just, who's it going to be? 1 week it's Myers, now it's Bird. What are they even going to be, a pass-heavy team? You got to predict the script. I'm not into it, but I might look in their backfield. James White, 40% owned. Michelle, 27%. No Burkhead. This is the Damian Harris show. Damian Harris is a fucking monster. I love this guy. But one of these guys is going to become more of a pass-catching back. Probably, obviously, James White, the better resume. We'll see him get some more involvement. And last two here, Fitzmagic could be the starter. What did you think of that? Them benching Tua and him blowing it.
So I thought Tua was terrible. And then I thought when they brought in Fitzpatrick, it was awesome. And then he got picked off in the end zone.
Just so classic.
I can't put him back in. I mean, I like both of these guys.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't think that might be the last. I put this up before he threw the pick, and now it's like, yeah, it's probably the last we saw of Fitzpatrick this year. But if he's the starter, two easy top 10 matchups against the Bengals, the Jets coming up. So if whoever's the starter is going to be intriguing off the waiver wire for the Dolphins. We mentioned Disley and Hollister behind the Seahawks, Greg Olsen. Somebody could emerge. I like Disley the most. He was the tight end 6 before he went down last year. Was seeing some real meaningful volume. And then last but not least, if those guys aren't there, Jordan Aitkins had a productive day as the Texans tight end 1, going for 83 yards on 6 targets, 5 catches. Solid day. Consistent, dependable numbers from a tight end are very hard to find. I don't know that
tight end renaissance today. Possibly the position not as slim pickings as it was a week or two ago. There were some guys that put up actual numbers. Well, let's get into the and that graphic and that little sound effect brought to you by the good people at the Roto Street Journal lets you know that it's time to start the mailbag. We love to take your questions. We love to take your comments, especially during this show, because we're all just basically hanging out after we watch the games. Craig Sarno starts it off admirably with his patented "Sup, boys."
Sup, Craig. What's going on, brother?
Eating W's tonight. LFG, says Craig also with a quick follow.
Love to hear it.
Craig, his avatar changed. Connor Patrick had no other option at running back, so rode Taylor, and he played well. Good for you. I did not have any option, and I played Josh Kelly, and he did not play well.
He did not play well at all. No,
well, it
was intriguing though.
He did have -2 rushing yards, so it wasn't nothing.
Real sturdy for you there. I'm glad that Connor brought this up though, because we kind of hadn't put any Colts on the list yet with the games going on. Right? Who won the game, by the way? Is that over yet?
The Colts won, and there's a bunch of guys in the comments telling us as it happened.
Interesting, good stuff. But yeah, 22 carries for Taylor. He had to be on the up list to see him emerge. Although then it's also like, well, last week it was Hines, so this week it's going to be frickin' Wilkins. It's still a nightmare, but if this was a sign of things to come, that schedule is still the greenest schedule of any running back moving forward. So if we see 20 more carries a week for Taylor, he could end up being that season-winning guy that we said that could always exist.
Yeah, but this falls into the same thing we've been saying. We've been actually strangely correct about the Colts for a while now, even though we're weaving around and dancing, and you've managed to stick your neck out and end up making some bad calls on them. But what we said like 4 weeks ago, and we were pretty adamant about it, is we don't want any part of this backfield. And I stand by that completely, because if you got 3 guys and you're basically playing roulette with them every time, someone's going to blow up every now and then. But I don't think you could ever predict it. So
do you think this big performance, though, could this change that? This 22 carry day where he played much better than we've seen all year? Like, could this be
I have no idea what's going on in that dude's mind as far as the coach of the Colts. But to me, I'd give him another look next week. But I just feel like they've been almost intentionally fucking with us, like Belichick style. Yeah,
it's very, very true. And Wolfpack, if you're willing to give this a thumbs up as we move through your questions, help us get more people. Looks great. And we greatly, greatly appreciate it.
Kyle Tunes says fucking Fulgham and AP combined for 3.6 points. Yeah, that's sounds about right.
JT and Parker.
JT 14.6, Parker 18.1 on my bench, projected to lose by 9. That's the worst, dude. I'm sorry.
Tunes, well, hopefully I know you have some players left. I hope they come through for you, brother. That's the worst. That fucking sucks.
Seamus J. Timberlake, there's not enough alcohol in the world to get me through this Packers game in my matchup today. Yeah, dude. I'm sorry, Seamus, because they really choked that one away.
Fucking Packers sucked. I know his fantasy game didn't go as planned. Shitty day for Seamus. Sorry about it, brother. The dance
looks good though. I still love the blonde hair though.
Still looks good.
Bailey Fields. What are the running backs you suggest to start this week out of Cook, Gurley, Carson if he plays Chubb, Sanders, and Swift?
How do you have that many fucking?
That's a lot of backs, man.
Yeah, I know Chubb gets Jacksonville because I own him, so I'm going him, no doubt. And then, I mean, Sanders is still the workhorse. I don't know the matchups all off the top of my head, Bailey Fields, but just on talent and what I'd expect, I think it'd be Chubb, Sanders, and Cook is obviously Dalvin Cook. You're playing Dalvin Cook, no doubt about it.
I would probably lean, if he's playing, if I would probably lean Carson over Sanders.
Yeah, and Jordan Howard, they're saying they want a committee with this motherfucker, so who knows for Miles Sanders.
Well, with Sanders? Yeah. Mike Clay, Duke fucked me. Yeah. Listen, we're huge fans of yours, so I don't want to come off as an asshole here, but we were talking before the show, and it's like no one should be getting fucked by Duke anymore.
We've all been fucked. Like, we're done. How can this keep happening?
We know what kind of a man he is.
Never again.
Craig Sarno, Duke is a pussy. Yeah, there you go, Craig.
A lot of good Duke.
Thunberg, MVS fumble. The Colts have the ball in the 29th. Remember I said the Packers had it. That's awesome. I was going against MVS, so that's great. Mike Clay, wish we would have known Fitz was going to take over SMH. Yeah, sure.
Parker, it's huge. If that moves forward for Parker, it's going to be big.
Mitch Chavez, MVS just gave the game away.
Damn.
Mike Clay, hate Frank Reich. Hate him. I hear you. Although that comeback against the Oilers in like 1992 was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you remember, you were like a fetus.
It was, I read about it though. He was like they benched their starter, right? And then at halftime he came in and
Kelly got hurt. I'm pretty sure Jim Kelly got hurt. It was
28-3
Oilers at halftime. Then they picked him off early in the second half, 35-3.
Yeah,
in the playoffs. Keep in mind, and Reich orchestrated the comeback.
Insane. And I've read about it. I've never.
By the way, worth noting, this is one of the first times that I gambled on a football game. I was, I guess, 14, and I gambled and I went with the Oilers, and I lost. So.
Good bet.
Good. I mean, it seemed like a pretty fucking good bet midway through the third quarter when they're up 35-3. Yeah, it seemed like a good bet. Kyle Tuneberg played Taysom Hill over Thielen. What, in like the flex?
Because he had the flex. He had the flex spot.
I mean, they both did really well, but it does sound like since you're going to lose by 9, every point like really had a lot of value.
It's 3 points.
Score a couple more points than him.
Right.
Kyle says Herbert is my hero today, giving me a chance to compete. Yeah, dude.
Absolutely.
You can thank
just one.
Yeah. Craig Sarno, despite the haircut, Herbert is still an absolute stud. It's true.
Love him. Absolutely love him.
He also says, does Baltimore finally start riding Dobbins? We think so. We hope so. They'd be stupid not to.
Exactly. It's so tough to give you like, yes, they absolutely will, but they should. And they did today. And it seems like that was the plan. Let's see what this guy does. Let's ride this guy. See, can he be our horse? And all he did was respond. So they'd be stupid, like Nat just said. They'd be very, very stupid to not have this be the case.
Mike, and this is answering my question about touchdown leads. He says 11 touchdowns for Thielen, 10 for Adams, 9 with 1 rushing for Hill. I feel like Claypool is supposed to be on that list somewhere because I feel like he might have 10.
Yeah, because he has 10 after today.
We talked about that earlier, and I believe DK has 9 also.
Yeah.
That's elite company. And Marin, buddy in my league, had Hill at tight end with the cheat code, but saw his opponent have Cooks and Thielen. I mean, Cook and Thielen? Or Cooks?
Yeah, it has to be Cook, Dalvin Cook.
Cooks doesn't scare me that much. Cook does scare me a little bit, yeah. Seamus, for so many reasons. Emoji. Yeah, I hear you, bud.
A lot of ugh from Seamus and deserved ugh.
Yeah. Craig Sarno said, I thoroughly enjoyed Brown's 0 after I hate cut him this week. Craig, I'm envious of the conviction that you had. I did not have the balls, and, I paid for it.
Yep, absolutely. Get rid of this motherfucker. No more ever again.
Raw Dog Brown.
Legend Mitch.
No lube. Never with the lube. DJ Johnson. I played McKissick over Dobbins, and I feel like an asshole after drafting Dobbins and sticking with him all year. That is the worst, dude.
That is the worst. Yeah.
This is the thing. I drafted Hollywood Brown, and I've stuck with him. I haven't played him every week, but I've stuck with him, and I know I'm going to cut him this week, and he's going to have like 3 touchdowns and 147 yards. And I'm going to feel like an asshole just like DJ Johnson does. Yeah. And
I think I told you I would have gone McKissick today. You saw 15 and 14 targets. Your process wasn't wrong, brother. I know it sucks. But maybe you just need to get to the bench to get a little motivation. You fired it up for the good of everybody else, DJ Johnson. The fantasy community thanks you for your service.
Mike Clay, Hollywood. We read this one. He's on Walmart shopping cart. They don't oil it or fix it. They just throw it out. Agreed, Mike. Good line.
Absolutely.
Sarah Riley. Always love hearing from Sarah. And luckily, you can't read someone's emotion. Her picture makes her look very nice and friendly, but there might be a lot of anger behind this.
I think there definitely is.
We hope you don't abandon us, Sarah, because we love having you as a listener. Started Hurst over Fent and Hooper. Good thing my hunting is going well. Oh, shit, she's just throwing in casually. She's a hunter too, Wolf, so be aware. Good thing my hunting is going well, or today would be a bust.
Hopefully she doesn't want to come hunting Wolf after that performance. My God, I deserve a bow and arrow for recommending Hurst. Whitetail season. She was saying on Thursday that she was going hunting whitetail. Tunes and her are both hunters of the show.
Yeah, don't turn your weapons on the Wolf. He's gonna turn.
I come in peace.
Turn it around. Mike Clay called Dobbins. Said early on he was going to be this year's Miles Sanders. Good call, Mike.
Good call. And we've always been aboard with you, Mike. Like if and when he's going to get used, the talent has been so steady. Such a good runner in any scheme. I love the fucking player. So if this is it, if he's going to get these volume moving forward, high end RB2 could be the value. I want to see it 2 weeks in a row though before I really start victory lapping it. But yeah. If and when he's fully taken over, it's over. He's the man.
Charlie Menalakis, hate the news for Burrow. Panic on the Bengals rest of the season. Yeah, I'd say so.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's nobody really left, Charlie, that like Higgins especially, because they were so much like chemistry with the connections and the degree of difficulty with some of those throws. You're not going to get with Finley. Big game
Ryan Finley. I mean, we've all seen a lot of big games out of Ryan Finley. Yeah. We've all won a lot of money, a lot of DraftKings cash. Just a lot of like playoff games and important games on the back of Ryan Finley. But no, I'm panicking. It's a fire sale.
Absolutely.
Mike Clay, Gibson's LFG.
It's Gibbs season, baby. Gibson season. Love it. There's going to be a week when he takes McKissick's role completely. He's going to score 30 fantasy points. And when McKissick's gone next year, I'm going to be taking Antonio Gibson in my top 6. I just can't wait. I'm already thinking of 2020, but I love this guy. He's been like my savior down the stretch here. I fucking love him.
I'm going to bid you up in the Roto Street Journal auction for him. And Marin, his first in forever. LOL. I think he's talking about when I said AJ Green scored.
Oh, yeah. Seriously. Just useless bag of shit.
Mike Clay, I got him in every league, traded him in one for Herbert. Gibson was by far the best preseason call you had, in my opinion, Wolf. Great job. Nice for the Wolf to hear something good after the word gets out he may be being hunted.
Yeah, exactly. If today's the last day alive after hunting season's going well for people, I'm glad I brought the world Gibson this year.
Yep. TS says Matt Ryan screwed me. Yeah.
This one earlier. I got that one wrong, but like the Saints put up their points. It just, I could not ever have foreseen that type of dud with a banged up Saints secondary. I think I just undervalued that defense. They are good. 16, 14, and 16 fantasy points as a defense the last 3 weeks. I mean, they're killing it, and they get Denver coming up. Drew Lock, the will give it a try to play. He's coming out.
Jay Record, what do y'all think about the Falcons? Can we trust Julio, Calvin, and Ryan rest of the season? I mean, not really. I'd say not really more or less than you have been.
Yeah, it's tough to not trust. I think Ryan can hit the bench. Fuck Ryan. I think like Calvin and Julio. Like Julio depends on the health, of course. I can't ever have Calvin Ridley on my bench. He still had like 11 points even amidst the shit storm today. So I'd stick it strong with like the stud receivers. But yeah, I could see this offense in a tougher schedule especially if this is how Ryan's going to play. Good Lord, that was hideous. Absolutely disgusting.
Dean McCray, Steeler Nation. I know we're not winning the Super Bowl, but my God, last year fucking sucked. I mean, you might win the Super Bowl.
Yeah. What's your hesitation to think that? I mean, the Steelers are probably the best team right now in the AFC. Like, I don't think they're going to win it either, for the record. But man, they're good. They are a difficult team to ever get across. Good defense, explosive offense. I mean, they're not missing much.
And Marin, I'm looking to shop Kenny Galladay. What do you think a return could look like, or is he a lost cause now? I mean, in my opinion, yes, but I've been saying that for weeks.
Yeah, who's going to want him at this point? Like, at this point, you might as well just hold him and hope something emerges. Yeah. Down the stretch, you're not going to get shit for Galladay. I wouldn't be trading.
I definitely, if somebody came around to me and they're like, "Hey, I'm looking to shop Kenny Galladay," I'd be like, "I'll bet you are."
Yeah, exactly. Here's the piece
That's
of
like me coming around and being like, "Hey, I'm looking to shop Hollywood Brown. I'm looking to shop Eric McKinnon."
Ooh, right. Okay, we could talk right there.
Couple guys, I don't think you're going to get much for Kenny.
Maybe Greg Olsen with his
maybe Hollywood Brown might not be a bad spot.
Good offer.
Team crazy. Steelers win next week, and I'm pretty sure they'll clinch the division. Yeah, I mean they're like 10-0, right?
Yeah. I wonder if do you think they'll lose a game this year, like a regular season game?
I mean, my instinct is yes. I don't have their schedule in front of me.
Yeah.
Just because 16-0 is extremely rare.
Yeah.
But I don't have one penciled in. They've managed to pull out some games that they probably shouldn't have won this year. so it hasn't been an utterly dominant one. I mean, Lamar basically gave away one of the games that they played against the Steelers. So I don't know. They could do it. Craig says they already announced Tua will start next week. Craig Sarno says Duke has fucked more dudes than Jenna Jameson at this point.
We're losing you, Truth. The internet out in Belfast or wherever the hell you fucking live in Belchertown.
Belfast.
Hold on. Let's let this internet refresh. There we go.
Belfast. Yes.
I was right. Okay. There we go.
Yeah, I'm out in Belfast.
Right. Now we got you.
Eastern Europe. Duke has fucked more dudes than Jenna Jameson at this point, says Craig Sarno. Nicely said.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. But at least she fucks back. Like, he just takes it. He's the fucking worst. Absolute worst, Duke Johnson.
Jackie Cow, I need Kelsey to score less than 18.58 points. Why do I think I lost? LOL. Probably because he usually scores more points than that.
He's the man. Yeah, it's 18 and a half is a lot. 18 and a half is a lot, but yeah, Kelsey's so fucking good.
Bailey Field says, what do you guys think Taysom will play at the tight end position or Pierce? Or do you think they'll take that away? Do you think they're going to take away his tight end designation?
100%. Yeah. They said they're going to evaluate it week by week. He didn't play a single snap at tight end. So yes, they're going to take that away. They should
have lined him up once or twice at tight end. Just
to keep his eligibility, right? Exactly. The Saints do us a solid here.
Do you remember a couple of years ago, Jalen Samuel, when he had that tight end eligibility, and you would do
Marquis Colston, the OG of that. Remember Marquis Colston?
Of course I do, but I remember your imitation of people complaining about Jalen Samuel.
Yeah.
He has tight end eligibility, but he only played 3 snaps wide this week.
Shut the fuck up.
Right.
Like, it's a cheat code. Anybody had access to it. Don't be a little bitch because you're the one that missed it.
Yeah, I picked Jameis up when Breeze got hurt. Nobody picked him up. Remember, your cousin said she got outbid trying to get Jameis, who then didn't even start. And then when they announced Hill was starting, I picked up Hill for nothing.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I mean, anyone could have done that.
Yeah, anybody could have done it. That's exactly everybody had access to the cheat code. So you can't bitch in the hindsight when you weren't the fastest one to act.
Right. Fastest draw in the West right here. Mike Clay, Tua already named starter next week. It's a joke. He had 83 yards through 3 quarters against Denver. LOL. Yeah, okay. That's
joke. Fucking joke. Not a good defense. Not a good Denver defense this year. We all want Ryan Fitz for fantasy purposes, but it's not going to happen.
Anthony Fella. Rodrigo with the game winner. Yep, for the Colts. Yeah. Dean McCray, that was a good bet. I lost that game too. He's probably talking about Oilers Bills. It's just nice to know someone else was alive and of betting age when that happened. So
yeah, our fan group is expanding here. Bigger age group here.
Mike Claypool does have 10 with 2 of those rushing, was focusing on reception touchdowns.
Gotcha.
All right. I knew I was ballpark. Thanks, Mike. Jackie says, should I cut Balaj for Dobbins or wait for news on Eckler?
Yes, absolutely.
If I could get Dobbins, I would definitely cut Balaj.
Yeah, Balaj, he got you there because of the volume, and he'll get you there in the future because of volume. But especially if this is one of those leagues where you have to make the move now, then yes, go make that move ASAP if you're able to. If you wait till Tuesday, we can see what news emerges. But either way, you want Dobbins. It's just a matter of is Balaj your most cuttable guy? We'll find out towards the end of this week.
Yep, Carson plays Philadelphia, so I think I'll run him. Says Bailey Fields. All right.
Yeah, Philly's an okay run D though.
Bailey, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
No, Carson, come on, don't sell short what Carson did before the injury. His numbers were staggeringly good.
Oh, of course, it's part of being in the offense. That's why I was all in on Carlos Hyde this week, and that panned out quite well for us because any running back in that offense, because of how good they are, is going to have a rushing touchdown every single game. So if Carson's the guy, I love him. Whoever the Saints the Seahawks running back's going to be is going to be top 15 that week. Whoever's the one that's going to be getting their goal line touches because they're going to score.
But Carson's the best of those guys. Definitely.
Absolutely, the most talented. I will say though, Hyde was impressive this week. I thought Hyde looked really, really good for whenever he's going to make spot starts. I feel he's right in. There's no even hesitation for me.
Craig Sarno, cut Brown, dude. It's cathartic. Yeah, you're probably right.
You got to do it. Do it. Record your reaction while you do it. Truth.
Dean McCray. I got to see who else is on waivers before I do it because, man, it's slim pickings out there. Drafted Galladay and Godwin, got totally lucky with Diggs and D. Johnson. Sure.
Yeah, that's some good backup to have there. Those were mid-rounders that just blew up, Dean. Sometimes that's why you draft depth at those positions. Well done there.
Chavez says Jacobs just scored, so I think we've missed kickoff.
Yeah. Everybody's wondering what happened with my husband.
Kick her husband's ass today.
I think she did, although he did have Taysom Hill. Let me, I'll text out. And,
Find out.
I'll find out.
Keep rolling the questions and find out. Jackie says, I had to cut Fulgham for Taysom. So glad I did that. Yeah, good call. That was definitely a good move. If we keep going down the list, Dean McCrae says, don't know how, but if you owed Hill before last week, he should stay tight end eligible. I hope you're right because I got him, and he's way better than what I'm rolling at tight end right now, Dean.
Yeah. I don't think that's the case, though. I don't think that's how ESPN works. They said they're going to reevaluate on a week-to-week basis, essentially implying, this guy's a quarterback. We kind of fucked up. We're not going to remove it from you in the middle of the week, but you guys can have your week of fun, and then it's over. That's what I imagine.
Jackie says, I can cut Geo too. Samaj Pirine worries me. Yeah, damn right he worries you.
Why? Why does Samaje Perine worry anybody? What did he do? 5 carries for 19 yards today? Like, right. I'm just worried about the offense as a whole, but I'm not going to cut Geo with Joe Mixon going on the IR.
Mixon's not. I mean, I don't think Mixon's going to play for the rest of the year.
Nah, at this point, why would you? When you'd have no Burrow, you don't want to lose your next other stud. I think Geo's the starter moving forward, and even in a gross offense with a bad quarterback, volume at the running back position is valuable.
Last one, Cody Hoxie, Woods or AB for Monday. Ramsey will probably shadow Evans, so AB should have a decent day, right? I would definitely take AB, but I'm biased. I got him, and so I'm pulling for him.
See, I lean Woods here, but I'm biased. I have Woods. I like Robert Woods though. I know last week 6 points, like nothing special, nothing great, but his floor is high. I think Ramsey will shadow Evans, but he also talked about bopping around, and their other corners are good too. I feel like Woods is in the better spot to have a decent day, but
who's not a very good quarterback? Jared Goff.
Yeah, it's true. That's a very, very fair point as well.
Right. You know who is an okay quarterback? The old guy for the other team. I can't believe I'm propping up Tom, but yeah, I'm going with AB.
Yeah, I prefer Woods personally. So we'll see, Cody. Let us know where you go. I'll be live tomorrow. And then that's the last one. So just so you guys know, live tomorrow, right around 7:30 for your waiver wire, your injury updates. I know we rushed through a few of them tonight. I'll dig in, get you all the details about those guys, how much fab I would spend, all that good stuff. You guys know the deal with the rankings on Tuesday. Our preview show will be back on Wednesday. Thank you so much, though. You can find all our content in the meantime at rotostreetjournal.com. We breed and feed fantasy wolves in the fantasy fullback dive. We pave your path to 2020 titles for your podcast needs if you prefer the audio formats. I, of course, am the Wolf.
I'm the Truth.
Later, guys.
See ya.